Okay, I'm about ready to get started on a really stupid project. Well, I think it's a smart project, but it's stupid timing. I just put in all these lights probably 2 weeks ago. I took this trailer up to Arctic Man and met my son up there, and we camped in this, and we went and did some really cool adventures at Arctic Man. And when we were up there, I noticed that the first night we were in here, the temperature outside was probably only 25. And with minimal heating in here, Mr. Buddy heater, and for a while I had a furnace going through here, it kept this warm. But when the temperature dropped the second day to less than 20 degrees, even with just, and by then we only had the Mr. Buddy heater, but it got cold, a little cold in here. It took a long time for it to warm up, so I've decided to go ahead and insulate this trailer. It's not insulated yet. And so the stupid thing about the timing is I went to all the effort to hook these lights up and stuff and put these strips on here. And now I'm going to leave these attached to the ceiling, but I have to cut the wires for them over here and drop all these ceiling panels out so that I can insulate the ceiling. And the walls are going to be easy to insulate other than this one here with the panel with all these wires. But the ceiling, I think, is just going to be a booger. And so I originally thought, well, maybe I'll just do the walls, but realistically, you're going to lose moisture heat through the ceiling because, you know, hot air rises. And so if you're only going to insulate one thing, you should probably insulate the ceiling. I'm going to do this in stages. I'm going to try to take all of the ceiling off, do the entire ceiling with insulation, and then put the panels up and hook all these lights, and I'm not looking forward to that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. I'll show you some of the pieces along the process so you kind of see the steps. And hopefully it doesn't turn into a big giant cuss fest. We'll see. This is a special bit that I had to order on Amazon. It's not a standard T-bit. It's about to drive me crazy because for years I've tried to use T-bits or something else, and I've ground these up. I've tapped them and all kinds of crazy things. But I finally went out and bought a bit. Okay, so I've begun this project. You can see that I've taken the corner strips off both sides here. And I've taken the roof vent covers here out. I've taken this very back panel off now, and this was kind of experimentation to see what's under here really. This is about 1 inch and almost a half. Here, there's a piece of wood there to keep that top rigid. It's got boards that are put along here, and then this last little bit is stapled into it. So I have to pull those staples off. And of course I've unhooked the wires, which saddens me because I've really liked the lights, and of course I'll put them back in. But so today, what I'm going to try to do is get the rest of the ceiling panels off and begin insulating the entire ceiling. What I've done is I've went through this is I've labeled every single wire with a number, and wherever I've cut that wire then I have labeled it on both sides so that I can hook them back up the same way they were. And so each of these lights here has 2 wires to it, so I'm going to continue labeling wires and cutting them and get that all done here. See, some of these have rust on them, so obviously there's a water leak in the roof, and so I'll have to end up patching the roof or doing something with the roof. We'll take a look at that when we get there. Okay, I've cut all the wires and I've numbered them all so that we can be able to hook it back up. So all the lights now are free, so we're going to take the ceiling tiles down. I've taken all the screws out, and then I'm going to try to put 1.5 inch insulation in the ceilings and 1 inch in the walls. Now, I think it should be free, and it should just pull straight back. Let's see though. We are totally free now. Yep. And then yeah, let's just set it against there. You guys want to grab that? Yeah. Just because this is all solid. Yep. Okay, and then that one can go over. Ceiling panels off. And actually that went relatively smooth. And I think that there's two areas that are going to be difficult now to cut pieces in. One's going to be, I think, this triangular area, just getting it right. And the next one is going to be in the very back here. Just getting this portion here and up there done, boxed in. I think those will be the two most difficult. And then I think the rest of it will just be kind of cutting strips that fit in there. We'll see how it goes. Kinds of insulation here. One is this styrofoam foil backed stuff, and the other is this pink board. And it looks like the pink board for 1 inch is R5, where the foam is 21 a sheet. Styrofoam like this is very, very combustible. And so I want to stay away from this just in case I have a short or something in my wiring. I'm going to get some inch, and I'm going to get some 1.5 inches, because I can put 1.5 inches in the top. Okay, so it has to go up against that plywood. Don't slap it over the plywood. Yeah. I got my CAD machine out, cardboard assisted design, and so I'm going to pull this out. I've made this pattern here. Oops. And then I'm going to put it on top of my board and cut it. Boy, that's close. Okay, just a little trim. So I'm covering every joint where this comes together with reflective tape, and that will reduce any air exchange, cold air, hot air. And then this tape is supposed to reflect heat back anyway, but more than anything I just want to reduce the air exchange between, make it more airtight. Okay, you can see I have every joint taped now on the ceiling. And so these connectors are heat shrink. And an 8. So I'm going to put a piece of strap metal across here so that I can put a spare tire carrier on right here.
just to keep that from rusting. I don't think it's going to have much water on it anyway, but put a little primer on it. We call it a day. We had other things going on today, but you can see I have about a little over half of that side done. So you can see that I'm trying to get it set behind here on both sides. So what I've done is I split it down the middle, get it started in there, and then when I push it in, and then you can see once I have that done, then it fits in there pretty tight. It doesn't leave much space there. And then I'll put a piece of tape over that. One of the challenges I have is the first project I did on this trailer, I redid the flooring. And the flooring goes all the way to the side of the walls, and then this sits on top of it. When I did that, I had the floor completely encapsulated in bed liner on both sides before I put it in. And then this had bed liner on it already from the initial install prior to me buying it. And so when I put this together, I went and caulked along here with the polyurethane caulk that's the same product as the bed liner. So I can't take this off. I should have insulated behind this, just thinking someday in the future maybe I'll do this, but I never thought I would insulate it, and so I didn't bother. And so I can't take this off, so I end up having to stick insulation down through here the best that I can. And so what I've done is I've created this is my little wedge thing, and this is the 21-inch mark, and most of these are going to be 21 or 22 inches. And the 10 laps down here, so I use this kind of as a shoehorn to push the 10 down so this will slide down through there. And that's kind of how I measure how long that needs to be. And you can see this needs to be about 22 inches then. Let's put a finger on here, pull that up. Yep, 22 inches. And so I'm going to make enough to go through here. And on those, what I do is I put one here, and then I drive a wedge down through the middle. Okay, so this flap will go down and cover up any airspace that might be in there. I've taped every seam, and then when it meets here, I've taped this across. And so you can see this is all taped. And ready for the side panels to be put on. Okay, so my goal is going to be to try to use the same screw holes. They've been covered up by tape, but as long as I can get one or two, then the rest should be so close that they'll fit in. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. All right, so the first one went right into the hole. Let's see if I can get lucky. Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and put the next panel in and the final panel before I get too many screws in there, just in case something weird happens and I have to take them back off. All right, now that is pretty awesome. And so I'm just going to put in a bunch of screws and screw this thing back down. We'll get started on the other side. Of this entire task, this is one of the two things that I dreaded the most. One of them was just having to weld that piece in because I had to pull a trailer ahead, string out an extension cord for the welder, bring the welder in. It was like a 2-hour setup for realistically a 10-minute job. And I just got through wiring this trailer up probably 6 weeks ago, built this thing here. That's a different video, but it's a rat's nest under here. It's organized, but wow, there's a lot of stuff. We'll pull this out, we'll look at all the wires, and then I'll label all the wires when I take them off so I can make sure I get them back in the right place. And once I undo this, I'm not going to have any light in here. Okay. Okay, you can see on this other side here, I've got all that taped. I still need to put foam in those ridges there. And this is all done there. And I still got to put foam in that one. But this is otherwise done. And so I'm going to go ahead and get the panels put on this wall here. All right, so this first panel is really the critical one. If I get this one lined up right, then the next two will go on correct. And so we'll see how it goes here. Okay, this is one of the things that I've had the most amount of worries about, is just getting all of these wires hooked back up. I think that this is, it has the potential to have some problems. So. Okay, we'll scooch it up there. Okay, there. Get a couple, three more in there just to make sure that it's solid where it's supposed to be. We label these purple, red, black. Okay, so there's one. Well, I'm kind of excited about today's progress. This panel is completely done. The door, I've got to put a couple screws in, but I got this panel all in. I have the last panel still to do here. This is the steel plate where the spare tire carrier goes. And I have all of the lights hooked back up. This was kind of a chore. And then this is a piece of UMHW plastic. And I put it here because I'll put a ratchet strap carrier across here, and then the ratchet straps are always banging against the wall, so I put this plastic up so that it doesn't tear up the wall. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and get this put back on. So on the back, this is plywood here. This is plywood, and on the back side of this plywood I've put these little buttons. I put these little threaded buttons, and you can see they've got spikes on them there, and they go into the plywood, and then they're threaded so that bolts will go into it, and so that's what will hold this on. Now, I've never purposely carried a fire extinguisher in this trailer until this build, and then I thought, well, I should probably put a fire extinguisher in here. I think it's a smart thing to do. I mean, you never know when you're going to have a machine in here and there's a fire on it, or you're going down the road and you see somebody's rig on fire on the side of the road, and it'd be nice to be able to stop and help out. So by putting it close to the door, I have quick access to it. And I don't know, I think it's a smart thing to do, although I hope I never have to use it. And for the spare tire carrier, not insulated. You can see it pushes in. And insulated. Won't push in. Insulated, not insulated. Well, welcome back to a new day. This is the last piece that I have left, and then I have a little bit here and a little bit on the other end to do. And to be honest, I've taken probably, I've been working on this over the course of about 3 weeks, a little here, a little there, when I have time. And so I honestly forget what I've shown you or haven't shown you. Maybe I have everything I need, maybe I don't. So I'm probably gonna go a little overkill on just showing you the steps, but I'll try to make it rapid. I'm gonna take all these shelves off and take this wall off, and then we'll take a look underneath the wall. Okay, so you can see one of the things I found is that the spaces in between each of these is a little bit different, and standing straight on, which obviously you're not, this one is clearly bigger than this one. And the nice thing about this one, because see this has an overlip, where you have an overlip and an overlip, you have to end up splitting it in half and putting both halves in. With this one, I'll be able to slide it in and push it over. And so this one should be 16 and 5/8. So I'm going to rip a piece that's 16 and 5/8 long with table saw. And I've been using the table saw with this initial cut just so that it's nice and straight, and it just makes it easier. So you can see there's an inch there, and that's where the foam goes. And this bottom part right here, this is molded on and sealed on there, so I can't take this lower piece off. So I'll put pieces down here, and then I'll add pieces on this upper section. And so I'll go ahead and get started on that. Shouldn't really take too terribly long. I'm going to use a square so it's nice and straight. And once you've cut this most of the way through, it's probably not cut all the way through, it snaps pretty easy. And rip it so it's in 3 pieces, because that's going to make my life a lot easier. And I'll push one on each side and one down the middle. And sometimes the 10 down there is lap, so I use this kind of as a shoehorn to make sure that it will slide all the way down. So you can see this first one is done now, and I'll tape both sides, but before I do that I'll put foam in here, and I'm going to get this all the way down. So what I've been doing with this, put that in, tucked in behind there. I'm going to put this one tucked in behind there, and then pull them out, put them together here, and then push it in. And what that does is it pushes it into both sides and gets into here. 45.5. And so every joint I'm taping, just so that there's no air transference. And then I'm putting little tiny strips in between all of these, because the port will certainly will come through that. Now just to insulate this section here, I've already insulated up here some, but I'm also putting a strip of Reflexix in here. Okay, so you can see this is all in there, nice and taped. I got Reflexix in here that I'll push up there when I put this wall in there. I got this one insulated behind there. I put an extra pad in here just to hold those, so that should be tight. This goes to a battery on the outside for the trailer brake, so I'll have to fish through that when I do that, but I'm gonna put this one up first. What I always try to do when I've been putting these up is I try to get the old screws, the old screw holes lined up, just because it makes less work in the future. So we'll see how this goes. Okay, so we got one screw in. Let's see if the rest of these will go. Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and screw that up, put the shelves on, and then I'll get this front piece put on. Alright, so I got this project all done. Everything is insulated. I put my ratchet strap holder in with my ratchet straps on there. I added a spare tire. I do have a spare tire cover somewhere. I need to find it and put on there, but other than that, it's all done. I guess the good thing, there's good and bad about this really. The good thing is it's insulated and it's going to be a lot more versatile in terms of going from really a comfortable 2 or 3 season thing to it should be comfortable 4 seasons now, and I should be able to use this for snow machine trips, and even in the fall hunting in it. In Alaska in the fall it can get cold, so that will be really nice. Kind of the bad thing really is I worked on and off for probably about 3 weeks on this project, just a little here, a little there, after work, on the weekends some, and so I put all this effort into it. It probably cost about $600 to do everything that was here, and when it's all said and done, it looks exactly the same as it did. And so, you know, you put all that effort into something and some money into it, and you always kind of think when you look at it, you go, wow, that's awesome. But realistically, it looks the same. So, hey, thanks for coming along. It was a fantastic project, and I look forward to getting out when it's cold and actually being able to use this and test it out, you know, in like -20 or something, and see how much it actually takes to heat it. I'm hoping for the best. So don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you out on the trail.